Welcome to this episode of Hampton Roads Business Live. My name is Rory Graham and I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of having with me Alex Youngblood from Solutions Home Buyers. Welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
And I know that you have a variety of names that you may show up under.
Sure.
What was one?
Faircashoffer.com.
Faircashoffer.com. Okay. Why don't, for the purpose of this interview and me just asking, why don't we just stick with Solutions Home Buyers? Tell us an overview of what that is.
Sure. Basically what I do is I offer homeowners a solution, an alternative solution to a regular real estate transaction. So basically it's somebody doesn't have to sit their property on the market and hope for a sale, go through all the uncertainties that this market might bring. So basically, I can come in and provide a fair cash offer that gives them the certainty of a sale, an immediate offer right then and there, and they don't have to worry about realtor commissions. So they're not losing that percentage there. They're not worrying about having to pay closing costs, and they're not having to make any repairs on the property. So all these things that are faced by people who are doing traditional sales go out the window.
Right. Okay. Well, I can see that could be really attractive, especially in today's market.
Yeah.
Can you? The next question here was: can you describe a traditional house sale in today's real estate market? Is there a traditional house sale?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think everybody's really pretty. This market is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you have your ups and your downs. Yeah. I mean, since 2006 was like, or 2006 to 2008 was like the peak of the market where everybody was just riding the wave of the equity and everything, and then it all just came.
A blast. And all of a sudden,
it all came crashing down, right? But things are starting to level out. We see in the Hampton Roads market, you're not seeing crazy appreciation. You're not seeing crazy depreciation in properties. So a traditional sale would be, I want to sell my house, right? So what do? I go look online. I might search, how do I sell my house? I need a realtor, whatever the case may be. And I list my property with a real estate agent. We sit it on the market, right? And we let the market tell us what this house is going to bring. So that could be, how long is that going to take to sell? You don't know what that is.
It could take months.
It could take months. It could be right away.
That could be a problem if you're trying to buy another house.
Absolutely. If you're trying to sell another house, if you need to get free from a mortgage to sell your other house.
Right.
Yes, that could be. But the main thing is you're going to sit that on the market, see what it's going to bear. Now you're going to have people coming into your home and looking around and seeing, is this for me? So that's one thing that people aren't. You got to keep your house clean. You got to be ready when the realtor says, hey, I've got a potential buyer. And then you maybe you get an offer, maybe you don't, right? So you have that uncertainty that comes along with it. The other thing is, now let's say you do get a buyer. Now you've got to wait for them to be able to get financed, right? So
the deal could fall through.
The deal could definitely fall through. So it's not done until the money is in your bank, right? So you have to deal with that. And then after that happens, you get your buyer and you have your contract, right? The home inspector comes through and he's just going to have a field day in there. When we sell properties, we are sometimes seeing a punch list from a home inspector that's 2 pages long of all these little things, because when we buy a property that we're buying as is and we're going to fix up to resell, we inherit all the little things that come along with that. So he might be, as picky as to say that you need to fix, this little part on the roof that might need some extra flashing, or, you didn't fix, your insulation under the house wasn't put in correctly, or, all these little things that could come into play that the homeowner has to deal with. Right. And if they can't fix it, their buyer could walk away. And
there's new federal guidelines on that too, I understood.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to keep up with, I guess. Now, when you go to do a house, do you do an appraisal so you know how much to offer?
Well, we don't do an official appraisal. What we do is go through and look at what the current market is bearing? What is this house going to sell for after it's fixed up, right? So there's different kinds of ways you can look at value. You can look at what's the after repaired value going to be, what's the current as-is value, right? And the best way to do that as a homeowner, if you're going to look at that, is see what are the recent as-is cash sales going on. And that'll give you a good idea of what your value is as is right now, as opposed to doing all the fix up and then sitting it on the market. Because a lot of people, right, will say, well, this house just down the street sold for this much. And then they look at their house that doesn't necessarily have the granite countertops, the finished cabinets, and basically a almost new looking house, and try to think that they can get that same amount. And that's that's not correct.
Okay. All right. So if someone calls you and thinks they might be in a situation where they could use your service, what's the process that you go through?
Okay. Well, they could either call our phone number or they can visit our website, faircashoffer.com, and input their information. We have one of our representatives will reach out to them and ask them some basic questions about their house to try to get a feel for what we're working with. And then we will set an appointment to go out and take a look at the house and see if it's something that's going to work. This doesn't work for everybody. Our offers work for some they don't. So we'll sit down with them and review what we could potentially do to help them, present some offers, and if they like it, great. And if not, no big deal. It's just another option that they have.
Okay. And so, I know what the term underwater means, but you hear that a lot.
Yes.
Especially in this economy. So can you address how you help people who are underwater with a house?
Well, an underwater house is a situation where the mortgage is more than what the property is worth, right? So basically what that means is if you were to try to sell your property, you're going to have to bring money to the table in order to close on that property.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's prohibitive for a lot of people. They just can't.
Anybody with a brain.
They just can't. They can't do it.
Yeah, right.
For instance, we just helped close a house out in Norfolk where the property was, the mortgage was $110,000, and the property itself, we part of the short sale process, and that's what it's called when you come in and get the bank to accept less than what's owed on it. Part of the process is they come through and do an appraisal on the property.
Oh, okay.
And their appraisals were coming in, around $60,000. So we've got $50,000 of difference of underwaterness, if you want to call it that. And we had our team go in, and we've got a great attorney that we work with that helps homeowners who need to get that reduction in order to sell their property. So when they come in, what we can do is we'll make an offer on the property for what we are able to buy it for, and then we'll get our team to negotiate with the bank to see if they will accept that price, and they will usually incorporate a debt forgiveness, so they'll forgive that debt, so you wouldn't have to be pursued for a deficiency judgment for that difference if it came down to it. So
okay, so you can get out from under the house.
You can get out from under the house, right?
So that would work good if you have like a rental property and you can't rent it, or you're whatever, and you're just stuck with making payments on something and all. So that would work out well for that.
Yes.
Okay. The next question here is what are some things a homeowner should watch out for in dealing with a company that buys houses?
Absolutely.
Because you see companies, you see this. Well, I don't want to say what their sign says. That's probably their name, but you see these kind of things all the time, and so I've never dealt with that, so I don't have any idea. So what are some of the things?
Well, there's a lot of people out there that claim they buy houses. I'm sure you see signs on the road, you see billboards, you see even TV advertisements, or you receive letters in the mail of people looking to buy houses.
Yeah, not all of them are bad.
Absolutely no, not all of them are bad.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. But go ahead. What is wrong with that?
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But where the trouble comes in is you want to make sure you're dealing with a reputable person. Right. So there are a lot of people out there that will claim they buy houses when in essence all they're trying to do is tie your property up, in essence, to try to find somebody that's going to come in and step into their position in the contract. and receive a fee for it. So they're not your actual buyer. That's the
I see.
the tricky part there. However, what you can do is you can make sure somebody has a proof of funds, for instance, right? So this person can come in, you can ask, can you give me proof of funds that you're going to be able to close on my property? Is it a long, drawn-out closing process, right? Can this person close in 14 days if they needed to, or 7 days if they needed to, or 3 days if they needed to? And we've done that too for people that really need a closing really fast.
Right.
Or are they going to tie you up for 45 days and then potentially not be able to fulfill their part of the contract? So that could put you in a bind because now you've trusted this person for a price. And if it doesn't work out for them for whatever reason, there could be a clause in the contract that says, if my partner doesn't approve or if the property doesn't appraise, those are out clauses that are in contracts. You could be looking at a position where it might not work out and you'll be in the same exact spot where you were before.
Do you run across people who try to say, after they meet with you, and they say, well, I'll just try to sell it myself?
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that's not as easily done sometimes or most of the time as you think.
Yes.
What are some of the pitfalls of trying to sell
Well,
it yourself?
this is the way I like to say it is, there's different parts of a transaction, and every part of it, whether you do it or not, has a value to it, right? So you bring a realtor in or a real estate agent to sell your property, there's a value to that. Are you going to pay the real estate agent to do it, or are you going to act in that fashion to reclaim that value, so to speak, right? Fixing up the property, there's a contractor that you're having to deal with, and dealing with contractors isn't a whole a whole nother ball game,
right?
But you either hire a general contractor or you do it yourself to try to reclaim that value. Each function has a value, and either you're going to do it or hire somebody else to do it. So you kind of have to figure out, is this worth your time? I almost like to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? Are you going to go out there and are the benefits of you doing all these functions worth your time and management and the headaches and the liability that comes along with it?
Right.
And you look at that and say,
you have to advertise the property and try to get the word out for it and all that. And
absolutely.
Much less, of course, obviously.
It's not as easy as it used to be where you could just put a sign in the yard and your house was sold.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, is there anything I haven't touched on? Because I've gone through my list of questions.
Yeah. The thing is, people wonder if this is really a fair offer. Is this a fair cash offer? And what we define that is somebody that's able to sell their house right away. They're not having to pay realtor commissions, and they're not having to do any repairs. Those are all things that come into play. So a lot of misconceptions that people might have is, I'm selling my house for $200,000, but are you really getting $200,000 for your house? A really good way to explain it is to look at your paycheck, right? You get so much from your company that pays you, but there's your gross figure and then there's your net figure, right? So a lot of people don't figure in what those costs would be, your realtor commission, your closing costs, and repairs. So you sold the house for $200,000, but your real net could be 20% less than that.
Right. And is there any cost to getting you to take a look at a property?
Absolutely not. That's something that we do for free. We come out and we make offers, and people can decide what they want to do from there.
Okay, well, that sounds great. All right, well, if you've got a rental property or even your main residence and you're trying to sell it and have not had success or haven't even tried or feel like you're underwater or you need some help in that department, I'm sure you can give Alex a call. His contact information is at the bottom of this page and at the end of this video, and I'm sure that they'll be glad to talk to you and offer you a free consultation. Doesn't hurt to ask, and it gives you another option to consider in this crazy market that we're in right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming in
thank you very
today
much.
and being on here, and I wish you a great deal of success.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.